Hey everybody, welcome back to Living in My Now. If this is your first time, hey, my name is Sandy and I am here to talk to you about dating preferences versus requirements. Now, just so you guys know, God has talked to me a lot about this quite some years ago. I was talking to my best friend, Kim. Hi, Kim, if you're watching, by the way. And I was telling her, well, I want this in a man and that in a man and that in a man and that in a man. She's like, Sandy, you need to pray and allow God to tell you what your requirements should be versus your preferences. Because you know what I've learned? God knows me better than I know me, and God knows my future. And he knows if I am meant to be married, that who the perfect guy is going to compliment me, and I'm going to compliment him as well. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Sandy, I thought that your channel was dedicated to single people living in there right now and being happy, and it is. But for some of you watching this video right now, God does have a spouse for you that is waiting for you, and you need to be prepared. And that's part of living your now, being prepared also for your future. So I'm going to read a couple of verses to you. Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the thoughts that I think toward you, saith the Lord, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you an expected end. Again, God knows your past, present, and future. He knows who's going to compliment you best if you are meant to be married. So trust him to do that. Jeremiah 32:26-27. Then came the word of the Lord unto Jeremiah, saying, Behold, I am the Lord, the God of all flesh. Is there anything too hard for me? God knows your preferences. God knows your requirements as well. And God, I've learned with some people that God will mix those preferences and requirements. Sometimes he'll give you some of your preferences, sometimes not. I have friends right now who have told me, like, you know what, Sandy, I would have never chosen my husband, or I would have never chosen my wife in a million years. And it's not because they're bad people or had bad habits. It's just not someone that they would have thought they would have been with. And you know what? God brought them directly to them, and they said, I don't know how I'll ever live without my husband or my wife. They're like the perfect fit for me. Or I've had people that God gave me my requirements, and he also gave me a lot of my preferences. And it's just so much fun seeing God work in that way. So let's kind of define preferences versus requirements. So a preference is that which is preferred, is a choice, and requirement is that which is required, a thing demanded or obligatory, a need or a necessity. So to break it down in layman terms, preferences are something you could live without. You don't really need it. I mean, it's great if you get it, it's great if you don't, whatever. And requirement is something you need, like food, shelter, breathing, water, things like that. So let's ask God to give us our requirements. Now, one thing that I did after Kim told me that, I really prayed and I said, God, what should my requirements be? And for years, I kept it in my Bible. For years, I would encourage you to not have a 50,000 year long list, because some of you out there, you're thinking like, I need a man who makes a bunch of money, or he has this really nice car, he has a really nice house, and he has this, that, and the other, and all these material things, or you want him to be tall and strong and fine. And there's nothing wrong with those things, but don't let your preferences get in the way of what the requirements God has for you, because God's going to fulfill all those requirements. Trust me, if you are meant to be married, God is going to have that person fill those requirements and then some, and so much the more as well. Proverbs 3:5-7. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thy own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. Be not wise in thine own eyes. Fear the Lord and depart from evil. I actually have a friend who, we were at a bus rally / demolition derby at our church in Chicago. And I remember her saying, you know what, Sandy, I want a guy who has blue eyes and red hair just like me. Basically, she wouldn't accept anything else. And I looked at her and I said, girl, you crazy? So just forget what God wants for you. He can be the perfect guy, but you want him to have the certain color eyes and certain color hair. Otherwise, the deal breaker. She's like, well, that's just my preference. That's what I want. You know, this girl got married recently, and guess what? Her husband has dark brown eyes and dark brown hair. And they couldn't be happier. They complement each other because she eventually turned her heart to trust God, and God brought her her perfect husband. Now, some of you may be wondering, what about that Bible verse, that Psalms 37:4, which says, delight thyself in the Lord, and he shall give you the desires of your heart? That's a whole nother video, but to put it in a short answer, basically, when you are seeking God wholeheartedly, God is going to turn your heart to what he wants for you. So yes, he is fulfilling the desires of your heart, because your desires have merged with what God wants for you. Basically, that's what that is. So I would encourage you to pray and ask God, what should your requirements be versus your preferences, so you don't miss God's blessing. It could be a really nice person. Like, you don't understand, Sandy, this girl, this guy is just so nice. We have so much in common. They're just so great and they're so fun to hang around. But my question is that who God has for you? You need to pray about that and be sure. That's just like, well, I'll just tell you a list of my preferences, and these are preferences, not requirements. But if it was up to me, I would have a guy who is at least 5'9". He's Latino, because as you guys know me, you know I love Latino men, especially Mexican men. And he would be military. He would play an instrument. He would sing. He would love to serve God. He would be very creative and artistic. But I do understand that might not be what God has for me. I don't care if God sends me a 5'7" black man who makes me laugh and his heart is to serve God. I don't care, as long as it is who God has for me. So I'm going to tell you some of my requirements. Well, some. I only have 5. I encourage you not to have a 500-year-long list that's like wrap around the earth 7 times. Just something very simple. I would say no more than 5 or 6 things that you can find in the Bible that God says these should be your requirements. So number 1 requirement for me is he must be biblically saved. He has to be able to show me in the Bible that he is 100% sure he is going to heaven. I got saved when I was 9 years old, and I could take you to the Bible and show you in the Bible several verses how I know for sure I'm going to heaven. And he has to be the same way. It has to be in the Bible, not what his grandma said, like one day you got baptized or you're a good person or your whole family's been Christians. That is not biblical. God says, for whosoever shall call upon the name of the Lord shall be saved. He has to believe and ask Jesus to save him. And that's going to be another video I'm going to link actually below, probably a different video if I don't have time to actually make one myself. But yes, if he is not biblically saved, no, not happening. That's just not a good fit for me. Number 2, he must have or is working on diligently having a walk with God. Not everybody has arrived, of course. He might not be that powerhouse walk with God as one of the giants of the faith, as we call them, like Charles Spurgeon or Billy Sunday, but he might be diligently working at his walk with God, and that's totally fine with me. As long as he's working at it or he has a strong walk with God, that is totally fine. Also, number 3, he should have a good work ethic. I don't want a guy that's gonna sit around the house and be like, I don't feel like working, I don't want to do nothing, I just want you to work and take care of the kids. That's not gonna work. And you lost, you get an F. Nope, you failed. Number 4, he should have a heart to serve. Now, he might not want to serve at the same capacity as I do in choir and mentoring, but he has to have a heart to serve God wherever area he wants him in. So definitely he has to have a servant's heart. And then number 5, he has to be willing to be ready. He has to be willing to be or already a part of a biblically sound church. When I say biblically sound church, meaning when you go to that church, everything they do is biblically based, not taken out of context. When the pastor opens up his Bible and preaches, you can find everything in the Bible in context. He's not stretching it out of shape to make it fit in his message and manipulate the people. No. He has to be. So those are my requirements. And like I said, I could take you in the Bible and show you every single one of these where God says it in the Bible as well. That should be our requirements. And just pray, like I said, and let God give you your own. But just remember, whatever you want in a guy, you need to be yourself. If I want a guy that's part of a biblically sound church, then I need to be, which I am. If I want a guy who is biblically saved, then I need to be, which I got saved at 9 years old. So just keep that in mind too when you're praying about your requirements and God's giving you these different things. It might be something for you to work on as well with God. And there's nothing wrong with preferences, but please don't make them a burden to the point where you're missing out on what God has for you if you are meant to be married because you're so hung up on your preferences. Also, just to save you ladies some heartache, and some of you guys some heartache as well. You cannot change a person. Please don't fall into the trap of, well, I'm a Christian, but she's not a Christian, but I'm pretty sure she believes in God, so that's good enough. So, and eventually she'll come to be the type of Christian that I am. Don't do that to yourself. My aunt taught me if you can't accept a person for how they are right now without ever changing, then no, it's not a good idea. So you can't love that person enough to change. You just can't. That's something between that person and God if that person wants to change. So take them at face value. If they're not changing, then don't. If they're doing it for you, don't even bother. Let God handle that. So I would like to know in the comments below what type of requirements you guys have that you prayed about that God has given you, or some of you may just be married. I want to know in the comments below, did God give you not only your requirements, but some of your preferences or all of your preferences? I don't know, but I would like to know. Be sure to like and subscribe and share this with other people so I can be an encouragement. See you all later. Bye.